And we're live, back with the school podcast. My name's Frank. We're at our main building, Source School of Addiction Recovery. We're a nonprofit 501c3 recovery gym and also addiction recovery program. We have 90-day programs for youth and also adults. And our founder and fearless leader, Dustin Hawkins, and some of you might remember Don Coleman, used to be on the War podcast for a couple seasons, and we're back, excited, ready to give this to you. So we're going to be filming live on Saturdays, and that goes live on YouTube as well as Facebook, and then we post them on every platform on Monday. So,
sorry, I got some.
Good to be back, boys.
No, I'm glad you're back. I really like you.
I love you, brother. Dude, we had some good times, all three of us.
excuse Dustin, he just put himself through a burner workout. Now he needs his fuel to refuel.
Yeah, you can watch it eat.
Yeah, you can hear me.
You can hear me.
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, exactly.
So we thought we'd just have a conversation today on here. Don, huge supporter, one of my best buddies, Frank's best buddy. I want to talk a little bit about these two.
I want to talk about these two. You guys are the reasons why I'm sober
Well,
today.
yeah.
Why I'm
Well,
here.
Don,
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, Don, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk, let people know. Don's been a guy who's helped people. His heart's in the game. Well, it has been since I met him. He's freaking, did you notice how I didn't use the F word?
Yeah, you're getting better at that.
They were impressive.
He's been in this world, very connected, and kind of devoted his life to it. And so I thought we'd start there. When I first met Frank, I was through Don. So
Right.
Don introduced Frank to me to come do the war program, which has been a blessing.
Yeah.
I think about when I started out there when we first started war. You were like one of the first clients when I partnered with
Yeah,
Cold
the
Creek.
treatment center, right?
Yeah, the treatment center. And remember, and so it was interesting. Don, I had met Don in that world. Remember, I was trying to get some counsel from you, and because I was trying to get the name out for war.
Yeah.
And you were so plugged in, and
then we did a podcast
Yeah, we did a
episode.
podcast episode and just became buddies. And then he referred, and I met Frank. And it's wild. As hard as that whole transition was for me with with war and everything that went on, and now we're the school, but I can't help but see the divine hand of it all. You know what I'm saying? And so let's start there. How did you two meet?
I think I
You
met
wanna
Don.
start, or-
Yeah, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong.
All right,
because
we'll do.
I was totally hazy. I might not remember.
You were lazy, man.
But essentially, I was living in California, LA, Orange County area for years, just doing the washing machine thing of, getting sober and then going to jail and then going to treatment,
Hanging out with gangs.
getting sober and then relapsing and hanging out with gangs, just doing whatever. And then it just wasn't working anymore. I think bounced from my third detox in 2 weeks, and then my insurance was like, we're not going to pay for you to go to treatment in California anymore. But so we found Utah, and I could come up to Utah. I came up here, went to treatment, and I met a girl in treatment, and then we left together, and then we're sober for a week or two, and then boom, back at it. It ended up with me bouncing around motels and living in my truck for about a year, just kind of on the streets of Salt Lake.
Baffles me.
I know.
Yeah.
I came to Utah to get sober, and then ended up just being homeless, living out of my truck in Salt Lake for a year.
He had a plug in the bed, though, in the bed of the truck,
Yeah,
so
the
he
outlet.
could charge his phone and
Yeah, exactly.
sleep.
Yeah, I thought I was living the high life,
Yeah, the sweet.
because I wasn't quite, normal, productive member of society, but I wasn't homeless tent. I was homeless back in my truck. So it's
The justifications we
Yeah.
make as addicts, man. These isms are crazy.
yeah, it's a Goldilocks zone for me.
Yes.
Just right for me.
Yes.
Well, because when I met Don, I don't know if it was you. I remember you talking about a kid you were worried about that you were had been talking to. It might have been Frank.
There were two. Remember, there was Jesse, Jesse, the first
yeah,
time,
yeah,
Who
yeah,
also
yes.
did the war program.
who also did the war, and then it was Frank, and that's exactly what I was talking to you about. I was like,
Yeah.
man, this dude's gonna need some help, man.
So I got Don's number because towards the end of my addiction, thought I was ready to get help, but I wasn't like fully committed. I was like, maybe I'll start to do an IOP up here because I was the addict classification. I was like, I have to rehab like 8 times. Like, I don't need to rehab again. Even though I'd almost lost my foot and like, you know, living in my truck, literally almost got my foot amputated from IV use. Anyways, I got your number because I wanted to do Wasatch IOP or something. So I drove up and met you. You know, we talked for a good hour and we listened to music and everything. And then I was going to call you again and I never did. And then there were several times when you were gonna help me get into detox.
Yeah, we started texting a few times about music. So kind of music was one of our connections.
Right.
You were like, check this song out, and I was like, yeah, what about this one?
Can you send LT? Sorry to cut you off. I think you were sending a text to Dawn, and you were about us. Hey Dawn, you got this, and you were I don't know if we could show that at some point throughout this. It'd be fun.
Dude, I was just send it right before this. Frank and I were actually going over old videos from that time, and
I sent a snapshot. We put a snapshot up of it.
Probably see the video.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Well,
yeah, he's got it right here. He's got it right here.
This guy.
The video over.
This is the last thing I got from.
Right.
So to set this one up, Frank.
That was a screenshot of the video. I just sent you the full video.
Okay, so to set this video up, Frank was coming to meet me. Already met a couple times at the treatment center. And of course, Frank was like, I just need IOP. I just need IOP. And I'm showing him the full residential center. Meanwhile, I was busy for the first hour. So Frank met with one of my guys who worked at the treatment center with me. And he came up to me after giving Frank the initial tour and he goes, bro, this dude is whacked out of his mind.
Yeah.
Like, that was before I met you.
Oh, yeah.
And then I met you and yeah, you were, but we connected on that music tip. And then this was when you finally agreed to come do an IOP.
Right.
And it was going to be Wasatch's IOP, and so this is what's setting. And we were basically sending videos back and forth to communicate. Like I think I was running a bit behind or something.
They were gonna
we were trying to connect with Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems as if you're always.
Yeah.
For the record,
Yeah.
Frank did do the Don Coleman buffer this morning by saying, "Hey, we got to start at 10:30." Mind you, I was here at 10:19 with having stopped for some water. And using the restroom real quick.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But I remember the time before that, there was a time when you were going to try to get me into detox. We were going to meet at a certain time, noon or 2.
Twice.
Yeah, and then I just blew you off. And then like an hour or 2 went by. You're like, hey, I'm here in the parking lot. Are you coming? And then finally I was like, you just give up on me. I'm a lost cause.
No, that's actually a good point, man.
I'm
So
not going to come. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember you telling me that.
dude, he was so genuine in this because it was 4 hours that last time that I was waiting in the parking lot. And Frank, he didn't just and he said it in the most sincere, heartbreaking way that like messed me up, man. He said, Dawn, I appreciate I can tell you've been trying to help me, but just give up on me. Like I'm not gonna be one of these ones that's gonna get sober.
Yeah.
Like just give up. And he was you could tell in the tone and everything that it was he planned the message out. He was high, but it actually was a coherent message that was saying, let me go.
Like maybe you had like gotten a couple of days clean and realized how hard it was going to be, and then just something like that.
Dude, he was ready to he was planning to die.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I remember I was trying to do a self detox, and you know, my girlfriend and I at the time were collecting things to self detox. You know, Suboxone, Xanax, and whatever. And there's one time we were staying in a motel where I had a little bit of cash, so we could stay in a motel. And she overdosed, and I like was scared. I threw her in the shower, and I called the cops. And so like paramedics came, and all these cops came and like resuscitated her. And then they obviously searched the whole room, and they like took our drugs and needles and heroin. But then they also took our Suboxone and Xanax, and I at the time was like, you guys are evil. Like,
How dare you?
we're trying to get sober, and you're taking our method to get sober. And they're like, dude, go to a detox. And I'm like,
Go to a program.
yeah. And I'm like, no, but I know how to do it. And we have all this Suboxone, and you're taking it from us. And there's
Look at my medical doctor certificate. I'm totally qualified to treat myself and my girl right here that just overdosed.
we had that stuff for weeks, and we were never going to self-detox. Like,
Never.
Yeah, exactly. It was just this idea that we sold ourselves.
You would have augmented your high with the Xanax, and you would have sold the Suboxone to get more heroin.
Exactly.
That's what would have happened.
Yeah. But yeah, so I remember that was that time where, you know, there were several times, like you said, I was going to meet you at detox, and then
Let me ask you this question. You know, when people, you obviously were around a lot of people that overdosed, right?
Yeah. I've seen someone die.
Well, it seems I've talked to other heroin addicts who've been around a lot of people that overdose, and it's almost like they got to the point where it wasn't that, like, it wasn't like a huge deal. They knew they could get them and wake them up,
Right.
but they were like overdosing.
So that first time, like, I called the
That's a
cops
trip.
that first time, but she subsequently overdosed probably 7, 8, 9, 10 times over the next several months. And every time that it happened, I was like, here we go again. And I never dreamed of calling the cops again. I'd throw her in the shower, cold water. If she didn't wake up, I'd shoot her with some meth. Because it's basically the same as like adrenaline or like the paddles. That's what meth does. And so obviously a doctor's never going to tell you to do that, but on the streets, that's how you bring someone back. I would try that. And if that didn't work, we had Narcan. But like I always was able to bring her back, so I'd never call the cops again. Well, it was just another thing I had to do. Oh, she's overdosing again. Let's bring her back. I'm so numb to it.
That's wild, bro.
Dude, I can take
You know,
that to
that
a
is wild.
place.
Well, that's wild. That's wild. And you, just that who you are now,
Having that had been normal.
and you are just used to people ODing around you, shooting them up with meth. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's like a medical thing I felt like to do. And like it does work, but it's like to the layperson or the listener, that sounds wild.
The dangers of a smart addict.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that he could, you end up playing doctor. But dude, let me take that one to a Frank situation that is right around the time we're talking about. So he started that outpatient we met, right? At that Jamba Juice. He agreed to start. He went and signed his paperwork. I don't even think he made it to the first session. Dude.
No.
Yeah, he didn't even make it to the
I
first
went
session.
to like an orientation where I signed paperwork, but I never made it to an IOP session.
Yeah, and this video was from that day where he signed the paperwork. But shortly thereafter, a couple days after, I took him to his. I'm like, I think I have the spot for Frank where he'll actually be comfortable detoxing. He's ghosted me, reconnected. So Frank had finally reached out and reconnected after saying give up on me. That's where we are now. And then I was like, I think I got a place. And so Frank and I went and it's essentially a detox that's done out of this woman's home. The way I like to tell people is it feels like you're detoxing at grandma's house. And she's so lovely and
Her name's Michelle.
Her name's Michelle.
She owns Healing Science Retreat. It's
Yeah.
an amazing detox.
Michelle
center.
DeYoung.
Yeah.
Shout out to Michelle.
Yeah.
And they had a guitar there. And so we got there, and that's another video we should share. But Frank started playing the guitar at 125, 130 pounds. But he finally had a connection to this place. He was willing to do it. But before he agreed to admit, he said, Dawn, I'll admit in 3 days. And then what happened was he told me a couple times, like, hey, Dawn, look, I'm trying to make things right before I go into detox. There's a few things like my girlfriend's mom's watch that I pawned. There's a few things that I want to make right before I actually commit to this thing, right? And I'm thinking, you know what, man, that's that good guy coming out, right? Dude, foolish me. So what's Frank doing? I meet him at the pawn shops. I'm like, dude, what do you need? And show me how much you need. And I actually went in and talked to the pawn shop person. They're like, all right, to get this stuff back, he's going to need like, 250, 300, whatever. So I'm like, all right, man, here you go. Dapped him up. Much love. It was cool. His girl at the time was, had to be. Otherwise, that can make you run if the girl you're with and codependent on hates someone that's trying to help you,
Yeah.
But dude, I leave the parking lot and I'm sitting there with a smile on my face, like, dude, I'm so proud of Frank, man, like making things right. I find out a couple months later, once he gets a little bit more sober, he's like, oh, Don, by the way, every time you left, I went right back in and pawned the hell out of those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you evil man. But it's the same thing I would have done.
The pawn shop owner would just look at me and I'd be like, what? Like, I'm not breaking the law. And he's just like, all right, man.
So, but
He
here's,
saw the whole interaction with you getting it out. 5 minutes later, I walk back in and pawn it again.
yeah, dude. But listen, so I'm getting to this. So that was for 2 days. That was 2 days in a row, but it was different things that he said he was trying to get back. So he conned me twice. And then, is this video ready?
Yeah, if you guys want to watch this video, I got it.
Let's watch this. This is that day of the IOP paperwork.
I had to do some workarounds. Let me see if I can actually get it to work.
Yeah.
LT's on the ones and twos.
I'm cruising, wheels gonna fall off. Extra points for Don if he can name the song.
With grinding on meth, yeah.
Oh,
You
So
look like
ugly.
shit, bro.
And
Yeah.
right,
Nowhere.
LT? And so this is the same guy that basically conned me twice out of the I'm trying to make things right gig before detox.
Yeah.
But Dustin, the reason I'm transitioning this way is because what you were just talking about with what he was so used to with overdosing. So when he finally commits to going into the center, he's like, Don, and we're with my buddy Joe too at the time. And we're like, he's like, yo, and then Joe was awesome too in terms of like, I mean, you know, in terms of helping Frank.
Joe's
Like,
amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a good perspective also. So Joe and I are with Frank, and Frank's basically like, dude, I just need to take care of one last side of my business. And I knew what it was, but I'm trying, you know, it's a hairy situation.
Well, it's a fine line. He's close to committing,
Right.
but he's still a drug addict and hurting. And
Exactly. And he had some debts to the dealer. But of course, when he goes to pay those debts, he picks up one last time. And he's basically like, you know, and I'm not condoning this as an interventionist, of course, but
no, it's
all
just what
interventionists out there
happened.
knows that this is what happens. And you have to work around what the addict's willing to do. If you don't have a 5150 on them or anything like that. And Frank shoots up one last time. And then he's
Were you driving or something?
yeah,
We were at a 7-Eleven parking lot. Like,
7-Eleven parking lot, and Frank goes to sleep in the back of the car. And by the time we get to the detox, Frank finally wakes up, and bro, it is not looking good. He is not looking like someone that's high. Turns out Frank gave himself a little dose of cotton fever. So, which for those that want to research it, can literally kill you. And let me tell you what Dr. Frank's solution was. He's like, dude, guys, bro. And he's like this, I'm just so cool, but guys, I'm good. Just all you need to do is put me in the shower for like 6 hours. We're at a detox. We're like, Frank, that's not the way things work. She pulls me aside. She's like, Don, I am not taking it. You get him to a hospital right now. So we go to the hospital. They tell us, and Frank's in there, took him 2 hours. 2 hours to find a vein?
well, I was mad because the nurse was trying to like put an IV in my arm, and I'm like professional at this. I'm like, that vein's not gonna work.
Right.
She's like, let's just try it. I'm like, no, they're gonna try this vein or this one in my ankle. And she's like, I'm not putting it in your ankle. I was like, I'll help you put it in my ankle. She's like, I'm not allowed to. I was like, well, bring in someone who's allowed to, and I'll show them where to hit it. She's like, I'm just gonna try to hit this vein. I was like, it's not gonna work. And she puts it in. It goes right through. It hits a nerve. I scream. I hit the wall, and I'm like,
I'm shaking everything.
I told you it's not gonna work. And I'm like, no more than the freaking nurses. But it's like, I did in that moment, but it's still the whole attitude of like, you know, what is like this addict know? And I'm like, I've been hitting these veins for years, and I know like where you're gonna be able to put an IV in and where you're not gonna be able to. Like,
Fun fact, a lot of addicts, oddly and scarily enough, become phlebotomists because they know how to hit veins.
that's
No
not
joke.
something I could do for
I would not recommend it, but I was talking to my therapist actually about this week. He was telling me how a lot of addicts actually go to that field because they know so much about it.
Right.
And they like the trigger. And I'm like, no thanks, would never recommend that.
That's
But Frank's
high risk factor.
Frank's kicking and banging on this hospital bed, like just kicking and banging. And we're talking to the doctors, Joe and myself, and the docs say, you know what, guys, if you wouldn't have brought him in, he would have died. Like this cotton fever would have given him septic shock, and he would have died.
Because I had like 105-degree fever. Basically,
yeah.
what happens is like you're shooting a dirty thing. So it's either the needle or some of the cotton that you use goes into your
Infected.
bloodstream, and there's like a bacteria in the cotton that causes you to become septic.
Dang, that's
Yeah, and
crazy.
septic
Let me-
is hell.
So it wasn't an
Shut down.
overdose. It wasn't a
Let me
problem
jump in
with
here
the
really
heroin,
quick
it's
for
the
a second. I
problem.
just want to shout out. These guys started listening to your podcast.
nice.
Almost 9 months sober from opiates. You guys are helping save lives. Good job.
That's awesome. We
Wow,
appreciate
thank
you
you
guys
for this.
listening.
Absolutely, thank you, Marnay.
Yeah. We don't do it to hear ourselves talk. We do it to spread awareness
Yeah,
for you guys.
Yeah,
So
I'm just trying to help.
yeah.
I bet a lot of people can relate to this story. Like, you know what I mean, with Frank's
Well,
story.
I think anybody, even me, I was opiate addict, but I was never an IV user, heroin
Right.
addict. And but I, you hear the craving inside his mind. It's the same, it's the same drive. So if there's pill addicts out there or whoever, just because they're not shooting heroin, it's the same crazy thinking.
And incessant
You know what
knocking
I'm
at the
saying?
door.
That's what we talked about in group last night. Is everyone's story is different, but we've all had enough to the point where we want to be here in recovery. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, that step one was easy at the point I was like where I was here. I didn't have any semblance of a life that like I could pass off as normal. Like I was living out of my truck, I was helping my girlfriend wake up from overdoses, getting cotton fever, like going to the pawn shop.
Talk about your foot. What the hell happened?
Almost had my foot amputated.
Can we get a picture of that?
It's kind of graphic. I could show a picture. Yeah.
Throw
we
that
got
bad
lots
boy
of-
up on the table.
Can we
Yeah.
show that, LT? If it's a
Absolutely.
little graphic, we'll let everybody know.
Oh, the bloody one with the insides.
Well,
Let's
like,
just-
I'll show you.
yeah.
It opened up.
Yeah, send that
So
to me.
Frank, tell everybody what was going on with your foot.
So I got sober in April of 2018. That's when
April
Don helped me. Basically in January of that year, I'd shot up in my foot and it got infected and it started swelling up and I went to the hospital. They gave me some antibiotics, sent me home. They're like, come back if it gets a little worse. In like a day or two, it was bad. It was like probably the gnarliest, the worst pain I've ever had in my life. And so I went to the hospital at like 2 a.m. emergency room. I went in, just take a look at but like 10 people ahead of me. She's like, I'm sorry, I need to get this guy ahead of you right now. There's people that are like, bent over, so sick. I have to go ahead of everyone in the yard back to the room in the bed. They called this doctor on call, orthopedic surgeon. He comes in, he takes one look at my foot. He's like, well, I'll do my best to try to save it. And I'm like, what do you mean try to save it? I thought, like, I'm at a hospital. Like, can't you just drain it and whatever? Anyway, I spent like 2 weeks in the hospital, 5 surgeries. And this close, the doctor said if I was like 6 hours later, they probably would have had to amputate the foot.
Didn't they come in and they were like, we're gonna have to look. Okay, so
Imagine being told that.
So
man.
to the first one, where the infection.
do the infection.
Um,
And so anyone who's watching,
Hey, Shauna.
be just
be prepared. This doesn't look great. This is what my foot looks like. This was like about an hour before I went into the hospital.
Oh, baby, that thing is sick.
And then this is after my first surgery, this next picture.
you can see that, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's,
people can see what you can see.
So that's what when you walked into the hospital, that's what they saw, right?
Limped,
Yeah.
hopped in the
That's
hospital.
what got you to the.
And that was after the first surgery.
So, oh,
I had 5 surgeries within a 2-week span there.
Look at that dead black. Go back to
Were
that
you
other
still
picture,
sticking needles in this foot
No.
that we're looking at?
I was still shooting up every day. I had my girlfriend bringing me heroin and needles to the hospital every day, but I wasn't.
You weren't pulling the crisp.
I wasn't
shooting into the
continuing to
scar
shoot up in
tissue.
that foot. Yeah. So
So
it wasn't
look at
that bad,
dead.
guys.
That's the dead part right there, right? Frank, the black.
Yeah, that was like
Oh, my
necrotic
gosh.
tissue. Yeah.
That's literally dead right there.
because and then right when you started with war, you were working on those surgeries. I mean, remember you had to wear that sleeve.
Yeah, I had to do a sleeve and I had to change my bandage twice a day, and it took a while to heal from that. I still have a really bad scar, but
Yeah.
I have like full mobility of my foot. I don't
Thank
have a lot of nerves and feeling on the top, but I have full mobility.
Yeah, so basically you got out.
I remember right after the doctor said, he's like, I'll do my best to try to save it. I start freaking out, and then I'm talking about like, I'm gonna sue this hospital and blah blah blah. And he's like, all right, let's just like, give him some Ativan, knock him out. And then he starts looking at me, he's trying to have like, heart to heart. He's like, hey, look, man, life can be really good as an amputee. He's like,
Oh, dude.
he's like, you can still snowboard, you could do this, and I just lost it. I'm like, he's already assuming that I'm gonna lose it. And then
Yeah.
Oh.
they basically knocked me out, put me out.
So you didn't know if you were gonna wake up with a foot.
Because I'm like screaming. I'm like yelling about suing the hospital and stuff, even though I'm the one that did this to myself.
And they're like, shut this dude up.
Yeah,
Give
so
him something.
they knock me out and I wake up after the first surgery and like I still had it. So
Were you thinking that when you woke up, or do you remember that? Or is it too fuzzy?
I just woke up and like looked down, I still had my foot, I had to get my bearings. Oh, I'm in the hospital.
Wait, okay, so your initial
I
thought
was thinking I was gonna try to discharge that next day. I'm like, all right, they did a surgery, just wrap me up and let me go out. Like, dude, you need to be here for like at least several weeks. I ended up spending like 15 or 16 days there in the hospital.
which is a common thread for Frank. So like back where we were when we went with the cotton fever story, right? This is right before so foot had already happened now in this situation, right?
This was like a few months later,
Is
April 9th, of, I guess.
April 9th. Yeah, this is the night of April 9th of 2018.
Yeah.
And so and the docs tell us, look, he has to stay with us overnight. They put an IV bag in him, but he has to stay with us overnight. And I'm talking to Michelle, but we're still trying to get him into detox. And Frank literally just gets so mad at us at one point that he just takes the needles, just rips the bags out, rips off all all the EKG or all the sensors that are on his body, and just stands up and he's like, I'm not doing this. I'm definitely not doing this. And and so I was terrified, and Joe was terrified. So we're like, dude, he's gonna give up on going to detox. He's done. This hospital, the experience is so bad, he's gonna want to get high one last time, which was, of course, his recommendation when he did have cotton fever before we went to the hospital.
Yeah.
I just need one clean shot and I'll be good.
Yeah.
But so Frank, and so I actually have to, and Michelle, if you're hearing this for the first time, I'm very sorry, but I wasn't fully dishonest, because here's what was said. I was trying to save a life here, as were you, and Michelle, you did an amazing thing, but Frank pulled out, and it was against the medical recommendation that he discharged, but the doctor did tell me, listen, if he's not gonna stay here, then the place that you were telling me about, I totally recommend that he go there. So what I told Michelle was, I didn't say that he left against medical advice, which might have not gotten him in. I said, Michelle, the doctor recommended that they'd like to keep him on. So it was the truth, but it was, you're thinking a million miles an hour in that situation. Because if he goes back out, I'm never seeing him again. He's gonna die.
Wow.
And he goes, what essentially happens is he comes out, and we're thinking he's done, and he actually says, all right, guys, let's go back to the detox. And I'm like, oh damn, hell yeah, Frank. Like, after all that, he was that committed actually at that point. And so he went to detox, and ever since then, he's been sober to this day.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah, man.
Well, yeah, and then you introduced me to him.
So then 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
I had after detox, we did a little trip in Moab with you and Joe.
Yeah.
I remember you guys doing that.
And then
Don told me about you doing that.
Yeah, we came back from that, and then that's when Don told me about War and Dustin. He's like, let's go try this program. So I went up and I met you, and then started
Which
War.
was a sick move to take him to Moab.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You wonder if, I'm not saying, but it's just get out, wilderness, little scenery, try to feel something
yeah.
He was getting
For a
stir
minute.
crazy.
for
Yeah.
a minute,
Well, every semblance of my life, all previous passions, enjoyments were gone. So it's like you were reconnecting me with things I used to love. Hiking, mountain biking, like going rock crawling in Hummers and Jeeps. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was a fun trip.
And it was cool because so I was staying with Frank at the spot, so we were able to kick it every day. Frank wasn't allowed to leave, but he loved his Friels, so we'd go get those Friel smoothies. Probably had
Mavericks, yeah.
for him to get some of his weight back. He'd drink like three of those mint
Mint chocolate chips
a day.
Oreos, yeah.
I remember the first day you rolled up with him and he's smoking a cigarette. He's got the big sock on. And I was like, what's up, man? And just kind of this Cali kid, Cali look, and 125 pounds.
And at that time, probably 3 weeks sober.
Yeah,
Three.
2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
sober, yeah.
Had to been 3 because we went back to Michelle's for about a week.
Yeah.
I wish we could. I have a video of the first couple of days of him working out.
Yeah.
I do too, man. Yeah.
When he was rolling.
But the thing is, he was giving it hard, right? I mean,
he went so hard. And this is when I found when I fell in love with Frank and started. I mean, he knew he'd been to so many treatments and he turned a corner and he got serious about recovery.
Right.
he bought into your philosophy, man.
Well, I mean, and his sponsor is an amazing cat. He played a huge role in.
I think those are the individuals that
Right.
I wouldn't be here without you, without Joe, and then without my sponsor Ben.
Right.
And Ben wouldn't like me saying that because he's like, I didn't do anything. I just showed you the program.
It's all your work. You're the one that.
He's like, I'm just a signpost pointing you towards, your higher power, right? It's nothing to do with me, but
But he is right, man. I mean, you are the one that had to stick.
Well, you went hard, and then and then when me and you started working together when I was going through all that stuff, pulling out of that treatment center, going through all that. That was a hard thing. I remember we were sitting in the hot tub over at the athletic club.
yeah, I've been around for a
We've
year.
been kind of working together, working out together, and you've broken your hands snowboarding.
Yeah.
So we were kicking it over the club. I was like, dude, you just want to freaking help me start turn it back into a nonprofit. I'm really thankful because I remember I was kicking around the idea before, which way to go business, and I remember you just kind of, and that's the other thing, dude, is I've just loved, thankful for is you're really smart, you know. And it was funny, we were talking the other day, you were telling a story to, I don't know, about when you were a drug dealer
Right.
yesterday. What were you talking about? You're talking about
I
how
was
you-
talking with your buddy Dan about just what I used to do before I came to Utah to put a roof over my head was like ship packages of, drugs across the country.
And other things, Frank.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if you want to get into those, but and other things.
as a coyote.
Yeah, Frank was actually being a driver for immigration, like over
Well,
the
not
border.
across the border. I would pick up illegals from San Diego and drive them to LA.
I mean, dude, dangerous business. Like,
But the
Frank was
thing-
messing with people that should have killed him.
But then the thing I was talking to you about is like I used to ship, a package to Boise once a month, one to New York, one to Atlanta, one to Boston, like a couple times a week. And
Well, so I'm just thinking, well, no wonder you're he's running this company, and it's completely scaled.
Yeah.
Since I would never do the things that you do. You know what I mean? But because I don't know how to do that stuff.
well, I wouldn't be able to do it without
Well, yeah,
you and
Yeah.
the program
and
itself.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think your experience in moving weight
Translate.
has translated over
To lifting weight.
to lifted weight and like
Running a
being a
business.
good businessman. You know what I mean? I mean, you say that all the time. People are like, man, if I just did what I do to get drugs and point it in the right direction, like you literally have done that.
You're absolutely right. He's
You
done
know what I'm
that.
saying?
Right.
That entrepreneurship, right?
Oh, here we go.
So this is a video of when
Oh, you
like
said
a
that.
week after I joined SOAR.
Hold on, if I can see the outfit, it might even be one of the first day. Or is this one?
So one of these guys has actually passed away
Yeah.
since
Oh,
this,
yeah.
which is really sad. The other guy's still my good friend. There on the right side, you can see my knee sleeve on the left side. Left side, yeah.
You moved it. Good morning.
Right.
Take the time when you're not recording.
Good morning. Keep moving. Yeah.
That's it. Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, and our guy that passed.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You know,
He was trying to join the program
He's
again.
gonna try to join the program. He's supposed to come in the next week.
Oh, so
He was gonna come
be
in
next week or like
No,
right now
me,
next
and, me and Frank had talked to him that week.
One of the
Okay.
He
gentlemen,
was getting ready to come back into the program.
back at that time.
one of
This is like
one of
2
those guys,
Oh.
one of those guys on the rower, he completed the program. This was obviously 2.5 years ago, and then maybe 2 months ago, he called us and was not doing well. So
yeah, he talks to you.
we set up a meeting with him, and then to come in and start SOAR again. We've obviously since changed from WAR in that gym to SOAR in this new building, but when we find out a week later that he had passed away.
Dude, rest in peace.
Yeah, it was. That's what I'm seeing more of. The longer I'm in this business, is just seeing more people die.
Well, it's like
Remember
I don't
when you
wanna say
told me you
it's-
were going through your phone? Remember when you
Oh,
were going
yeah.
through your phone?
about a year ago, I was like, I have so many contacts on my phone because I've never like edited them. I delete like some of the bad ones, like dealers and stuff when I got sober, but I never like gone through and cleaned out my contacts. And I went through all of them. There was 17 people that were dead that were on my contacts,
Yep.
and like a majority of them were from overdoses and suicide. Yeah,
Hey, Sean, by the way, thanks for watching the
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you.
and it's true.
But
Crazy how sick we were in addiction and alcoholism. I mean, that means a lot to me because it's like that's what the second step is all about. Is like we're asking a higher power to restore us to sanity, which means that we were insane before. And the way I was living life and everything I did, it's clear to me that I was insane. But this is what I was talking about. We talked about this in the SOAR group last night a little bit. That some people, their stories are different, their bottom's different. So where it might seem like a blessing to like not have the problems I had. Maybe some guy tries to get sober where his story is, hey, my wife thinks I drink a little too much at dinner, so I'm gonna try to get sober. You know, I'd be like, that's a blessing, but at the same time, it's a curse, because that guy might not think that his behavior is insane. He might not have the gift of desperation to get sober, so it might take him longer to get sober. A lot of the times he will, and like maybe that's enough of a spark, you know, to want to change your life, but a lot of the times that might have to drag on for 10 years until he loses his marriage, loses his house, and then he's ready to get sober. So it's like this funny blessings or curse kind of thing where you're not sure.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's like I was at such a bad point that it was actually good because I had no other option. I was like, I need to get sober. I'm ready. And that's how I committed my all to you, to Joe, to Ward, and my sponsor. I'm like, if I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing. And a lot of people that are maybe like, you know, like, my boss smelled alcohol on me, so I might try to quit drinking, or my wife thinks I drink a little too much, so I'm going to stop. It's like, you might look at that and like, oh, great, you didn't have to go as far down. And that's true, but unfortunately, a lot of the times it's hard to impress upon that person, like, okay, we'll live this lifestyle, because they're like, well, I don't need to, you know? So it's like an interesting thing, concept, that thing.
It was an interesting thing that you said on.
It's lunchtime. Make sure to drink water.
Make sure to drink water.
All right.
Yeah, let's try to drink.
So at 2 days, I think, after, so probably April 12th of 2018, I remember when, you know, I woke up, you were already outside.
Smoking a cigarette.
Always smoking a cigarette with that long hair and you hadn't gotten a haircut yet, but that didn't end up happening. But you were there and you were listening to music, and I was looking at you down from the window, and you seemed to have a piece about you that I hadn't seen in days. And I remember that's when
I had never seen that.
I had never. Well, when you were high, you had a little bit of peace, but it was manufactured peace.
Right. Yeah.
But frankly, it was just, and he had a kind of a smile on his face. And we went out, and I sat next to him. We started talking for a bit, and Frank said, "You know what? I kind of starting to realize is that it's not that I don't have to do drugs anymore. It's that I get to not use drugs anymore.
Yeah.
Like change the whole perspective of like I get to be sober instead of like I have to be sober."
Well, no, I remember it was every time I tried to get sober before, like I'd get sober and then there'd always be lingering thoughts or nostalgia, which is like a huge concept, the principle of nostalgia we talked about in SOAR, but there'd always be thoughts of like, oh, I'm getting sober, but I don't ever get to smoke weed again, or I don't ever get to like have a beer again. And I'd be like, it's all right, I'll try this whole sobriety thing. And this time when you saw me out there, I had this like sense of serenity and calmness, and the feeling was, I don't ever have to drink again. I don't ever have to smoke weed again. I don't want to.
I get to not.
I get to not do that stuff anymore. But in the past, every time I tried sobriety, there was always like, I don't ever get to do that stuff again. Like, you know,
It's doing so much good for you.
Yeah.
Well, dude, listen to this thinking. These are part of those isms that we have. Is I think I've told you this one, Frank. Dustin, I might not have told you, but I remember when I was in treatment, like, you know, almost 4 years ago. This guy, he was sharing his story, and he was saying exactly what Frank was saying. He's like, he was doing a share, and unfortunately he relapsed, but this shows you why he did this thinking. He goes, you know what, man, like, I'm now like 20 days sober, and I'm realizing that I don't need to obsess anymore about that thought of like, you know, like when my daughter gets married, like I get to have a glass of champagne at her wedding. He's like, but I don't even have a daughter yet.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean? And like, the thought is like, wow, man, like, yeah. But I relate to it. We get it. We're like,
if that's the reason why you don't get sober, because I'm like, because I want to have a glass of champagne at my daughter's wedding.
yeah, she's not engaged.
My daughter's not even born yet.
Exactly.
Why should that stop me from getting sober?
That is so wild.
Yeah.
But that insanity you mentioned, Frank, like, I think all of us were insane. It's like, you know, us alcoholics and addicts are the only people where it makes sense to get rid of our headache, to bludgeon ourselves with a pan. Like, you know, that you hear it in the AA rooms, but it's that's what we're doing by getting high.
There's an example of it. You talked about how I had the cotton fever. My idea to fix it was I just need another shot that's clean.
Yeah.
That's how I get rid of it.
Which might kill you.
Yeah.
Like, likely will kill you.
But that was my solution to fix the problem. Yeah. We had a headache. We hit ourselves in the head with a hammer to fix it.
Yeah, we're like, okay, this ding ding ding, this will work.
Frank, now, like, you know,
Hey, Nikki.
now do you so nowadays, like, I mean, I it's interesting. It's like student to coach, we just modeled, and I actually, it's gone, like I call Frank to, when I'm struggling with my resentments and all these things, so he's like, and vice versa. But talk a little bit about like, what are some of the side effects that you've experienced, maybe how your brain's changed, or like, do you struggle more with depression? I've seen you go up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about how you deal with that. I think people be interested in that, because I think a lot of people are interested, because when you do get sober, you feel like your brain's the same. You talked about all the ecstasy you used, and I think a lot of people want to know, how do you deal when you go low?
Well, I think I permanently damaged my brain from drug use, especially in like 10 years ago, 2010, I was taking MDMA and ecstasy like a lot. And then I think I also damaged my body, obviously permanent scar damage on my foot, but also like my whole digestive system, my metabolism, whatever. But I like how you said the word side effects, because you're like, what are the side effects? And that just brought to my mind, what are the side effects of getting sober?
Boom.
And it reminded me of this quote my buddy Jason posted on Instagram the other day. He said, I got sober because I wanted a better life, and I stay sober because I got one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it sounds like a simple statement, but it's like, that is so true. Like, I stay sober because I got a better life, right?
Right, exactly.
But in life, it's like, in recovery, it's funny because like, you eliminate the drugs, you eliminate the alcohol, whatever your problem was, and you go back to like, you're just a normal person.
Now you're you.
But it's like, for us, it's like a celebration. We got sober, but to the rest of society, it's like, oh, congratulations, now you're just a person.
Or
Right?
or it's like, congratulations, you're a person, and can't wait for the other shoe to drop and for you to relapse again.
Right. But it's like, life immediately got better for me in a lot of senses. I think the first thing of just eliminating that, like just being sober, will immensely lift up your quality of life. But at the same time, for a lot of people, it might get worse at first because we don't have that crutch and that sense of ease and comfort, that shoulder drop of like what the drugs, the shot of heroin, the meth, the Xanax, the weed, the alcohol used to give us. So now we're just sober and we're like, how do we live life? How do we cope with life? And so I started doing that by leaning on the program, the principles of WAR and SOAR, the courses that we teach, the lifestyle, the foundation of health, also AA and the steps, the principles in those. I live them like to the fullest in my everyday life, or at least I attempt to as a goal. But life still happens, things happen all the time where I get low, like something that happens in one of my personal relationships with my family, or like a significant other, or the other day, like a couple weeks ago, one of my guinea pig just died. And that was like, Gus passed away.
I'm sorry.
It was really heavy, and like,
It's heavy.
It sounds trivial to like a lot of people. Even Dustin was like, it's just a rodent.
No, dude, he was part of your recovery.
Thank
literally
you.
was.
I realized that upon reflection. No, it's fine.
You should, dude.
Animals and pets are part of our family, but God, I didn't realize that until I did an assignment for my sponsor. I told him what happened. I was in tears, and he's like, write a journal entry about what Gus meant to you. And I started writing that. I realized Gus was part of my spirituality, especially in my early recovery, where it's like I learned to enjoy and bask in simple moments, whereas instead of seeking after these highs, part of my recovery and my spirituality, especially in the beginning, was like hanging out with my guinea pig and rabbit on the bed and reading before I went to bed.
It's so true, man. And feeding them little lettuce and carrots. I remember that. That was your serenity.
I know. And I was like, look forward to that. And that was like part of like, I would just enjoy this moment, the present moment, right? Just hanging out with this little furry guy, my little buddy. But yeah, he passed away a few weeks ago. Like, me and my ex-girlfriend had to take him to the vet, and then they like euthanized him at the vet. We were holding him, and it was a mess. Like, she lost it and I lost it. But it's like, that sent me into a little depression for a few days, and obviously all these other problems. But it's not this huge thing where it's like life's over. It's like I know how to bounce back because I have the tools today to do it. And it's not like life's always sunshine and rainbows. You talk a lot about how a lot of life is kind of dealing with the monotony, walking through the shadows, dealing with loss, dealing with grief, dealing with fear, dealing with resentments. And today I have the capabilities, the tools, and the solution to deal with those in a healthy way, which I'm grateful for. My solution before was drugs, escape, and alcohol, and it would work for a little bit, and then pretty soon, like, the cons of those things outweigh the benefits by far,
How much of yours was resentment, man? Because I mean, you would hold on to some things. You had some codependency things also, but and just maybe for all of us, like because just to kind of bring it like to something that's maybe personal and current with me right now. So at my house right now is my buddy Sean, who I did an intervention on 2 years ago. Tried to get him into treatment. He's 40-some years old. He spent 10 years in prison. He's only had 37 days sober, is the max amount of time ever in his life from drinking from alcohol, right? And he's almost 21 days sober. And he came over last night, and the plan was to stay for the weekend and golf and have a sober moment because he's dealing with resentments and codependent relationships. Right. And I know that he might be tuning in, and so I don't know, just with everything you just brought up, which is what kept us sick. I'm just thinking like, how much maybe any of our stories were resentments and codependent relationships.
A lot. Fear. You boil it down, and like those are the main things that we're dealing with in recovery is like our relationships, fears, and resentments. And I think most problems that you might have in your mind will boil down to one of those if you think about it. And like a lot of people don't spend time thinking about fear because you might think of like, oh, I have a fear of spiders or sharks or heights, but like I'm talking about fears. Like I have a fear of abandonment, of being alone. I have a fear of not living up to my father's expectations. I have a fear of failure. I have a fear of success. And it's like they might not be on the surface, but if you dig down to a problem you're dealing with right now, at the center of it, fear is probably wrapped up in it somehow,
You're absolutely right.
And so I just try to deal with those on a day-to-day basis where it's like I recognize it, try to bring it to the forefront, and I don't dwell in it, but I try to do what's the opposite of that today. So it's like maybe I'm stuck in a fear today, and it's like, well, what does my higher power want me to be? Instead of like, what am I going to do today? It's like, how am I going to be? Okay, how am I going to act in this world today? And on a day-by-day basis, like, not how am I going to act the rest of my life? Like, those are important things to think about, but all we have is the present moment of today. So, usually most mornings I'll wake up, I'll pray, I'll try to meditate, and I carry that thought. So it's like it might come to me, you need to be patient today. So then I'll focus on just being patient throughout the day. The next day I might wake up, I need to focus on being compassionate of others. Okay, so I'll try to focus on that for the day. And I usually try to think of like the antithesis of that fear, right? So it's like a lot of times, if say today I have a fear of failure, like, I have a big meeting today. What if I fail? What if I don't come off well? Or what if my words, I stumble, things like that. What if they don't like me? So I have a fear of maybe failure that day or not living up to myself. So that morning, instead of like the opposite of that being success, I'm going to be successful today, I'll try to think about it. And usually there's like a deeper meaning that comes. Okay, maybe you need to focus on acceptance today. Okay, I'm going to be accepting of myself, of others, of reality today.
And whatever happens.
Right.
Flat tire.
Yeah.
Accepting that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a big one, right? Like the acceptance piece. That's for me, when I'd be like, something would happen. I'd be like, this is the worst day ever. This is the worst thing ever. It'd be like they didn't have the 5-hour energy that I needed at Chevron.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever. Just like these stupid little things I noticed I couldn't deal with.
And one of the dudes in our board, Tyler, talks about that. If you let these things build up long enough, these fears, resentments in sobriety without dealing with them, he says this thing where like pretty soon, you snap your shoelace and damn, your shoelace, and I'm off to the liquor store now. Because it's the word. So it's like you let these problems pile up, and all of a sudden one thing will happen. I get a flat tire or miss a phone call, and I'm off to the drug dealer's house, right?
Dude, you're so right.
Yeah.
Like, so when so have I ever done water balloons with you guys? I think I might have done it with you. Like it's kind of like an exercise that my therapist had done with me years ago, and it's something that is exactly what we're talking about. Like essentially, problem ownership when things go wrong, when you need something you need to accept. So let's do this as kind of an exercise real quick. I think you've heard it because I think you might know all the right answers. And I'll tell you that there's 5 questions. I got 4 of them wrong when I first did this, and it took me doing it with my mom and her getting them all right for me to actually be like, oh my gosh, I finally get it. But let's say you and I are, Dustin, you and I are walking down, you and I are dressed up. You're getting honored for something by Utah for SOAR and what it's done for people. We're dressed up.
Best teacher at Layton High Award.
Yeah, best physical education teacher.
There you go. Best physical education teacher. We're dressed up to the nines, right? In tuxedos or whatever. We're walking up to the place, right, to go in the doors, and all of a sudden these groups of kids, they lob over these water balloons, and all of a sudden they splash us. We're soaking wet. Now we probably can't go to the event. Maybe, I don't know. You're pissed off. I'm pissed off. The kids are laughing. Who owns the problem? In this, there's 5 situations. Who owns the problem in that situation?
I mean, to be honest, where I'm at today, I probably would never wear a suit.
Okay, but
That's the problem.
okay, but just who out of those 3 parties? We got the kids, we got you, we got
I'd
me.
say
Who
they're
owns the
young,
problem?
6-year-old kids, punk, little, like my son. All right, man, yeah, it's just, I'm gonna wear it, go in.
So
Just tell the crowd that, this is what happened. These kids threw water.
okay, so are you saying there's essentially no problem in that situation?
I'm saying that, yeah, I mean, I guess it's my problem. I'm a little wet.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
He's owning what happened.
Okay, well, hold on. Don't get into reasoning yet, because this is
Okay.
where the lesson comes. Like, if anyone's listening, this helped me a lot. And
So
so,
this is a quick.
second situation. We're walking through. The water balloons get lobbed over. We both get soaking wet. You're pissed off. The kids are laughing. It reminds me of being a kid, and I start laughing, but I'm still soaking wet, just like you. Which one of the 3 parties, or how many of the 3 parties own the problem in that situation?
Well, what do you mean? So, like, I'm mad and you're cool.
Yeah,
And so now
I'm laughing.
now
You're upset.
Now I'm resentful at you because why is this dude acting cool?
Right.
And you're.
Why
So is it my problem?
Laughing.
In that case, would you in
No,
that moment be like,
I think I would say that this is my problem
okay, all right, cool,
because I need to chill out.
cool, all right. So third situation, water balloons they lob over, they hit you, you're soaking wet. I step out of the way, I see it coming, I do the pump fake. I see it coming, I dodge it.
Get behind me.
Yeah, exactly, get behind you. And except you start laughing, I'm dry, but I'm pissed off and the kids are laughing. So you're laughing, the kids are laughing, you're laughing. I'm dry, but I'm pissed off. Who owns the problem in that situation?
What do you think, LT?
I guess the guy that owns it is the one it's happy in it and relating to the kids.
Okay, so
I like that
again,
point of view.
so the last situation, we'll just make it 4. Last situation is the kids throw the water balloons. They miss us, or no, we'll just say they hit us both. We're soaking wet, so our event's messed up. We're laughing and the kids are laughing. We're all having a good time. Who owns the problem in that situation?
Is it a problem?
Bingo. So now I'll kind of go back and give the answer. So in the first situation, and when I was getting so mad at my therapist, I'm like, what do you mean owns the problem?
right.
What do you mean by that? And he's like, just follow through. I was waiting for you guys to get upset at me about that, but
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about what does that mean?
right, exactly, to own the problem. And then there's a beautiful thing about ownership I'll talk about. But in the first situation, who owns the problem? You're pissed off, I'm pissed off, kids are happy, right? So we own the problem. The person with the negative emotions owns the problem. In the second situation, you're pissed off, you own the problem. I'm happy, kids are happy, you own the problem. Even though in my old thinking, it would be like, those kids are the damn problem.
Right.
They're the ones causing these issues, right? And then when there's, like LT said, is there even a problem? When there's no negative, so whoever has the negative emotions owns the problem, right?
Wow.
But here's the beautiful thing. If you own $20, Dustin, what do you get to do with it? If you own something, what do you get to do with it?
Use it as I want. And I get to buy something cool.
Yeah.
Right, you get to do whatever you want with it, right?
Right.
So if you realize negative emotions in yourself, and instead of externalizing blame and being resentful and being scared or whatever, and pointing it at other people, at the kids throwing the water balloons or whatever, you say, you know what? I get to own this problem. I'm feeling upset. I get to do whatever I want. I can go snap. I can go slap the kids. I can go talk to a friend and be calm. I can go kick over my sofa. I can rip off the clothes and run naked through who knows? You know what I mean? The whole thing, my point is, you get to do whatever you want. If you actually own the problem, it gives a lot of power in terms of being able to get rid of resentments when you realize this is actually my issue.
How are you gonna react to life today?
Bingo. Yeah.
What's your reaction? Yeah, like that's that's exactly the stuff that I'm working on right now. I'll go like I'm worried about going to my kid's game today. I get weird. My little league football can drive a man crazy.
Right.
Fathers.
It's
Why?
the truth.
Well, it's just what you're talking about, you know, it's wrong, and I'm working, I did better last week, but like, you know, if my kid doesn't do good or something, you know, or
Are you upset at him or upset at you?
I'll blame the
I
coaches,
get
or I'll
it.
tell him he's not working hard
well,
enough.
like just anything, you know, like some other kids doing good. Why isn't my kid doing as good as their kid?
Yeah.
Oh, he's way better than him. You know, like they're just, you know, just wearing these weird, stupid thoughts out, you know, and that I got the problem. I'm owning it. No one else is even.
Yeah, that's your
I
problem.
won't even go talk to anybody. Eventually, like I go isolate in the end zone. I'm just sitting there mad about the whole day, and then I go home and I'm mean to Autumn, and the kids are mad, and then Bodie can feel it on me that I'm.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
But dude, if you look at it as just like Frank said, I get to be sober. I get to own this problem. I get to. I can
It's not
choose.
even a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't let it be,
Yeah.
but you are going to be upset at times, and it's okay to do that. It's just if you externalize it, it's like they say it's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. Right? It's like holding resentments or being upset is like drinking poison, expecting someone else's craziness. So if you realize it's your problem and you say, I get to decide what I do with this, and then ultimately get to what Frank's talking about, which is acceptance.
Yeah.
Then, dude, if you can get to that point, then you can get pretty far in this recovery thing if you can learn to accept.
Yeah, you end up just being free in your head.
Mhm.
We talk about it in SOAR all the time. A big concept is about becoming like meek and patient and just kind. And you can't, you know, it talks about the book about just walking around with the sunlight of the spirit.
Right.
And what are the things that block you from feeling that spiritual feeling? Your resentments, fears, or if you've harmed someone in the past, and then you get your link of guilt.
Self-resentment.
Yeah.
Like so, it's like
That was one of the main ones that I had to deal with when I was first getting sober and doing my 4-step. Is a lot of people have like a huge list of resentments that they need to get out. I'm resentful against the Ogden Police Department for doing this to me. I'm resentful against Judge so-and-so. I'm resentful against my mom. I'm resentful against my ex-girlfriend. And for me, like,
You're realizing this at that time.
I had a couple of those, but my biggest problem was self-resentment when I was getting sober. And I was like, how do I work through this? And it's like that thing of like turning shame into guilt, where it's like, I'm not bad, but maybe the things I did were bad. Or a lot of it was like not living up to like my potential, you know, where it's like I did amazing out of high school. I had all this opportunity and I got a full-ride scholarship to college and I lost it and like just did blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, however old I was when I got sober, 26, 25. And then I was like, I don't, you know, what is my life today? You know, 26-year-old heroin addict that's homeless. And it's like, I'm just getting started in life right now. And all this self-resentment was hard to work through, and realizing that acceptance and it's okay. And this is where I'm at in life today. And like now a few years later, and I'm so grateful and blessed, and like wouldn't have been able to plan this life out, you know.
Dude, you're so much farther than so many people who haven't gone through issues
Right.
in just those few years.
My cousin used to say to me, like I call him my brother because he's like my brother.
Yeah, those are your brothers.
Yeah, my 2 brothers.
Yeah.
But one of them always used to say, he's like, dude, like, this is cool. You got your midlife crisis out of the way. And it's like, you know, you don't have to deal with this when all of a sudden you're 40 and you're like, oh God, I had a divorce and now I have to sell the boat and like I'm gonna go like
Right.
do whatever. It's like I got my midlife crisis out of the way at 25.
Yeah.
And so now like I can relearn how to build this foundation of a life and like let the true Frank come out, and like now I'm more equipped to deal with problems in life. And
Bingo. That's what I was thinking when you said that. Now you're actually prepared to deal with whatever type of midlife crisis come on.
adding to the stream of life.
yeah,
You know, and the reason you speak, I think too, the reason why you progress into what you're doing now is because of coaching and working with people.
yeah,
You know, and staying, you know, these groups you're running, and every day the phone calls, and I mean it's just that type of schooling you can't get at a regular university. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but you have the school, you know, that's why we're called the school. I mean, you had the schooling of heroin and almost having your foot amputated, living out of your truck. Was important schooling, especially for the work you're doing now.
right,
Working with this next dude who's been in his truck.
yeah,
I mean, that's what another thing I always loved about you is like, and why I was like, damn, dude, Frank, because you can relate to every kind of kid.
mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you relate to the little high school kid because you were that high school kid who was on probation, shit for, you know what I'm saying? Even
Right.
when you were kind of on the front end of addiction, smoking weed, and like a lot of these kids are, you hadn't got into heroin or anything yet.
Yeah.
But you had that season in the school of addiction too. And then your season moved further with the college party scene and ecstasy and being a drug dealer. And so you had that school of addiction learning, and then, you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
then
oh,
heroin,
absolutely.
and then being homeless on the street. I mean,
Right.
so you're just a hell of a useful man.
It's that alcohol.
You are so right, man.
Because of that PhD you got in the shit.
And then the alcohol portion, because towards the end, like the main program I live by, not preach, it's like a program of attraction rather than promotion, but like that I sponsor people in and that, we use the principles in and so is like AA. But like alcohol has never been like my downfall where it's like I was drinking every day, but there's periods of my life where like in college for a good 6 months, every single day I would wake up and start the day with a 40 ounce of malt liquor, like King Cobra or, whatever, Old English.
Just hell.
Yeah. Making
He's not an alcoholic.
Yeah. Every day that was like how I started the day when I woke up at 11 or noon is, 40 of malt liquor and then I'd smoke a joint or a split or a blunt. And that was to like start my day to get me like normal baseline. And then towards the end of the day, I'd start ramping up with drugs and other things and ecstasy and coke and opiates or whatever. But so it's like I had that experience where I was like physically addicted to liquor for a while. And then I had this other experience where after putting together a year of sobriety, I was living in California. I got drunk one night with my ex-girlfriend at a Red Robin. We had a couple of frou-frou drinks. Like we opened the menu and those like mixed drinks are what like caught my attention. I was feeling so good. I'm a year sober. I have a girlfriend, a place to stay, a job. I'm in school. And then I opened the menu and this catches my eye.
Butterfly Paradise.
What is that blue thing? Like, oh, what is this mixed daiquiri bananas? And I'm just like, I'm like, should we get a couple? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like, should we? And we're all like feeling guilty. Like, let's do it and not tell
She's pretty
anyone.
naughty.
She was in recovery too.
Wow.
We were both
They
like,
bounced from the treatment center together.
we were both like a year sober. No, we were a year
Oh,
sober.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, like living this healthy lifestyle. We ended up getting drunk one night, having a couple drinks, and it didn't end up with a DUI or in jail or me face down on the concrete outside. It woke up the next morning. That's okay.
Which is the worst thing that can happen is
Yeah.
nothing happens.
Right. And so
Is there anything
literally
you can do it again.
less than a month later, I'd say about 3 weeks later, what am I doing? I'm shooting heroin and meth every day. 3 weeks after having a couple drinks. And so that taught me an important lesson. That's like alcohol might not be like the substance I choose to escape from, but like that opened the door up. After a year of sobriety, healthy living, good foundation, 3 weeks after I have a drink, 20 days, I'm shooting heroin and meth. So it's like that taught me one of the most important lessons of all is like I don't want to open that door with any substance,
Yeah, that's great. So I saw the Eminem a couple years ago. You guys know how much I like Eminem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he posted something that, I think he just got like 10 years or 10 or 11, but it was a couple years, and he posted something along the lines of, it's a beautiful thing when you realize you can't take anything.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I remember like I would do the same thing, man. Like, I could drink, be me and my wife's anniversary, and we have some drinks, and I'd wake up and be like, I don't like to drink, dude, history shows that I would be back on pills,
Right.
like soon. What maybe not just that month, but like in the next soon little while, I was gonna be back on pills.
Right.
And it took me a minute to think, dude, I can't do anything. I can't smoke weed. I can't go fishing, smoke weed, and think, it's not opiates or doing addies or snorting pills or anything like that. So it's not like that's the wrong thing. And I was just talking to a kid yesterday. Yeah, kid coming in the program, he relapsed, and the same thing. Like pick up weed again. He's like, well, I was only smoking it once every other week.
Yeah.
But look.
So far,
we were talking to him about that last night, and he said, but I noticed all of my behaviors changed, where even though I was only smoking once every 2 weeks, all of a sudden, as soon as I smoked, the clock in my head started to count down.
Yeah.
It's only 13 days till I can smoke again.
The door's open.
11 days till I get to smoke again. And he's already just fiended for this, even though he's like set up these parameters of like a healthy usage. It's like his whole life is wrapped around the countdown to that next time
Right.
he smokes.
Which is that exact addict thing that if he embraces and if he takes on, he's going to be right back to his drug of choice, no matter what.
Well, he was. The reason he joined the
Yeah.
program again is because he started drinking and smoking every day, and then
Right.
and then giving coke.
Right, dude. It's so funny how all three of us have that similarity. I know you and I have always bonded in that sense because mine was the same thing. I could always go and have a drink or have 2 drinks, and I could even stop at 3 drinks, right? But so after I'd been sober for 7 years, the first time, I
had 7 years.
I had 7 years. Oh yeah, I was living in wine country, and I was like, oh, I could do. Well, I'm living in Santa Rosa, running a company, running a large international company, and having access to
That
people
scene.
making alcohol. Like, yeah, you're in people's vineyards, and they're saying, oh, this one you can't get this one, so you're just enjoying it. And then next thing you know is, I'm at the bar then, and I'm only at drink 3, but I'm with maybe one of my lawyer buddies who's like, well, Don, what about some of this cocaine? And I hate cocaine, or I thought I hated cocaine, right? But when
I'm hard to believe that you hated cocaine.
Oh, bro, are you kidding me? Dude, stimulants. I'm an ADHD
That's
kid.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Oh, yeah. So listen. So I hated it, but I was already compromised because I had, like Eminem said, it's great when you know that you can't take anything. Because I had that door open. So if I had the door open to alcohol, it was just a matter of time. So I realized that, and I
So
went to
you
that.
ended up doing coke.
Yeah, which then I need to come down with opiates. So then I finally ended up getting back to that. So it's like I always say to people, I say, see, I can't drink because I don't go from drink 3 to drink 4. I go from drink 3 to blow.
Yeah.
And it's true. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I can't drink.
Right.
So I preach a program of abstinence, and I think that, but, obviously there are medications that you need to talk to your doctors about, however people do it. But I preach a program of abstinence.
And I know people that will get sober off meth or heroin, and then maybe a couple of years later they drink occasionally, and it's like,
And it works for them.
if that works for them, that's awesome. But I learned the lesson. For me, it doesn't work.
Me neither.
And it brings me back to that quote I was talking about. My buddy posted a few days ago where it's like I got sober because I wanted a better life, and I stay sober because I got one.
Dude,
And it reminds me of like how I put that year together. I had a better life, and so instead of staying sober, I'm like, I'll just have a couple drinks and it'll be even more fun. And nope, it like boom brought me down. So it's like,
kamikaze.
why didn't I realize that? It's like the reason I had such a good life was because I was a year sober. Like, instead of just like, what'll really heighten this feeling is if I get drunk at Red Robin. Like,
It's all those isms, man, that
Right.
we have. All those just crazy things that we, as addicts and alcoholics, anyone listening that knows that, we have to deal with these. So always be hyper aware of, and always and associate with people in recovery. Like, that's the best thing that you can do, is because just right now I'm getting doses of recovery right now. Just talking to you guys. Just anytime I'm with you guys, I get doses of recovery.
right.
When I'm with my buddy Sean, who's at the spot, who's just looking for a sober weekend, like where he can't be around it because someone's gonna hold him accountable. And it's like, dude, he's only almost 21 days sober, but I'm learning things from him because I'm remembering what it was like to be there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like, so make sure you associate with sober people. Don't feel ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Help a new guy.
Yeah.
Don't feel ashamed of it. I got to the point where I felt, after 7 years sober, I was like, I already worked in treatment. I've already helped start a treatment center. I've already done this. I'm going to put all that aside and go into private equity, which is what I did. And then I didn't even share that I had that story with people that became my best friends and my business partners. I didn't let, one of them knew, but I didn't let any of the rest of them know that, hey, guess what? I have a story of recovery. And don't hide from it. Embrace it. It's part of who we are. It's like you said, Frank's got a PhD in
Heroin.
and everything, and that whole life.
That's what I love. LT's whole nonprofit, and like the shirts and hats he wears, just putting it out there.
Covering it.
Recovering
Yeah.
addicts.
Calls it who, yeah. He's like, guys, guess what? I'm a recovering addict.
Right.
It's like Kalichi, right? With the whole, like, I refuse to be anonymous. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, be careful with it if you might get fired from your job or whatever, but with everyone else in your life,
Yeah.
embrace it.
LT, why don't you tell that story about you walking to that business a month ago wearing your hat, and then, this kid that, we've been talking to a little bit recently, but he, reached out to you because of that.
Yeah, so I started my live stream, 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm like an audio perfectionist, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm looking for anything. I'm behind stage. Sorry, I'm not a camera, y'all. But I'm looking for anything to sound dampen, right? So I find this place in North Ogden that manufactures sound proofing, right? But it's just a manufacturing place. So
Right.
nobody goes there to shop. And
Yeah.
I just walk in like, boom, hey, I own the place. And I go walking through like, what is it? Where's the manager or something? It's finally, nobody even like really acknowledges me, looks at me except for one dude. And I walked over to him and he talked to me for a minute. And then the manager came down, told me what the place was about. And I was like, okay, I'm out of here. So I go out to my truck. And as I'm backing out, the only dude that looked and talked to me comes running out, looks over both shoulders and says, hey, bro, I saw your hat. And I was wearing this hat, you guys.
It says recovering addict on it.
Yeah, it says recovering addict. He's like, I got a problem. And I shut my truck off and we had a long
Yeah.
conversation. And now the seed's planted. And it was a God thing. I didn't go there with the intention to find an
That's what
addict.
the dude said. Even he's like, dude, no one goes in because it was like a warehouse. It wasn't like
Yeah.
a normal.
No,
place
it's
to
a
shop,
warehouse. They
right?
got table saws and dust.
Like, you
And
probably shouldn't even been
Yeah,
back
those are
there.
usually locked down. Those are usually locked down or something.
yeah.
But because LT is proud enough to wear that on his hat and say, like, yo, I'm a recovering addict. Literally, you might have saved a life, man. You know
I
what
love
mean?
the traditions of AA and NA, but it's 2020. Things are digital now, and I'm here to break stigmas. That's why my wife and I get on live every night because we are going to show the families. I don't know if you guys have ever met anybody that's never been affected by addiction.
No,
I don't think it
It's
exists.
one degree of separation. Everyone has someone that's
Somebody. So I'm out. So my wife and I's goal is to just say, hey, look, let's bring this all to the light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is hope. There is a
Families.
solution. Yeah.
I love it.
We got
Yeah.
what we got our people in our SOAR program, our 90-day program, linking up to LT's all the stuff he's doing online as well as an added resource
Right.
to our program. It's just beautiful.
Because LT and Recovering Addict, they built out this beautiful online community
Yeah.
where, you can listen to their live streams multiple times a week. You can join their forums. You can chat. You can reach out any time of day.
Yeah,
And someone will be there to help. Yeah.
It's essentially like LT. What you've almost created is like a sobriety Uber.
I call it recovery in your pocket.
It basically is like if someone's struggling, they can be like, yo, hey, I need someone to talk to right now.
Yep.
And man, I thought years ago about doing something totally different, but the result of which you've accomplished, man, like you literally have a forum. And just hearing Frank say that is teaching me more about what you were telling me the other week. But man, just by you being so proud of it and your wife being accepting and you guys going through it together and having this platform, man, you're saving lives.
100%.
Yeah.
Interact with people going through recovery. It's so necessary. Don't feel ashamed of it and try to hide from your past.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
What a sick conversation. So everyone listening or anyone, so Don, obviously huge face on our war podcast. What we're doing with this one is a little different. We're not necessarily always the same people being on every week. Frank running it, Don coming on. Don's, and this is stuff that we talked about, but
Yeah.
Don we thought it'd be interesting because he's so well informed about having where he comes to the table with stuff that's happening in the recovery world as far as like news and different things and different ideas about what's happening or just even controversial subjects. I think is interesting, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I love
And
love those.
with the help of LT to be able to, and we can have conversations around that. I think it'd be sick.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing here is awesome, and obviously the War podcast was a beautiful thing. A lot of people loved it. And what the school podcast and the school of recovery, what you guys are doing, is just so amazing. And yes, just to be able to contribute, and also I can't tell you what it's like. Anyone that watched those episodes, I always had the computer in front of me and had to do like what I get the
He was trying to
beauty of.
do LT too.
I was trying to do everything, and we had maybe one time someone else did it, but man, LT's a genius in what this guy does. He's, going live on all these platforms and everything. So I look forward to being able to. Yeah, thank you, Shauna. He's been very active, which is cool. I look forward to bringing some interesting subjects to it, however regularly we decide.
And
So
we'll just have conversations like we did today.
Absolutely.
I think just doing a format like this where we just discussed is
Yeah.
very helpful. It seems like we had a lot of, based on our viewers and stuff.
yeah.
Well, LT, Frank, Don, you guys have anything else you want to say? I love this. We're here every Saturday at 10:30/11. LT will usually put something. Do they see that, LT?
Yes,
When
it's
you put the 20-minute.
I've made it so we go live every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Okay, 11 a.m. is when we've been hitting it. And
Because
so,
I follow
Burning the alarm.
I follow our YouTube channel, which is SOAR, School of Addiction Recovery, And so once I hit subscribe to that, at 10:30, I have like a notification on my phone that says like, we're going live in 30 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
in other words, guys, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
You know, some people hate saying that, but it's so important.
Facebook,
Yeah.
whatever, Instagram. Yeah.
We're just trying to help. We getting on this with LT. You know, we're just getting on this, trying to have discussions, and you guys can join in. We got the screen here. We can talk to you.
And if you don't make it live, they're always posted the next Monday. So like on our website, schoolofaddiction.org, on any podcast platform, you know, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all that.
Yep, uploaded every Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously Don Coleman on Facebook and have a company called familiesinaddiction.com. We can discuss more about that maybe some other time. I'll do it as part of a news thing or something, and then Don A. Coleman on Instagram. If anyone wants to reach out and chat, if we connected at all in any way, I'm always willing to talk
This
to
seems
anybody.
like a lifesaver
Yeah.
too. Like we told the whole
Interventions.
story. Like he got me sober, introduced me to Dustin. So
Yeah, you did it, man.
you know anyone that's like struggling, like Don's a great person to reach out to as a resource to, you know, help get you plugged in or into treatment or detox or
And I'm
whatever.
a certified interventionist, so
Yeah.
I can actually come and do interventions. You know, at your house, have experience with doing over a couple hundred interventions. So
Yeah.
happy to help anyone. You
The
know,
cool
just give me a call.
100%. The cool thing about this 11 o'clock broadcast is it's about what time is it, bruv, over in the UK right now? But he's watching from the UK.
Hey, bruv.
So his name's Nathan, but we call him Nathan. He's bruv. He's from he's a freaking.
Knife and bro.
He's a dirty Brit, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Watch
that's
my
cool.
Butcher the accent.
I know, he's probably looking at me like, you loser. Hey, respect, bro.
Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Love you, Kat.
I love all you guys, man.
Appreciate it.
And respect to LT, man. Seriously, it's amazing what you're doing, bro. And recovery now to end with here, so
Thank
LT on
you.
the ones and twos.
Yeah.
All right, peace.